We are the restaurant brokers, and we sell restaurants.
We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm over a decade ago.
Atlanta, Georgia was our starting point, but our brand is spreading nationwide. We define restaurant brokerage and help buyers just like these.
Our dream, our goal, open up a restaurant, loving life, serving people breakfast and lunch, and then enjoying the rest of the day with them and ourselves.
Buying an existing restaurant, leasing a closed restaurant space, or purchasing a restaurant franchise, we help buyers satisfy their appetite for acquisition.
I'm part of a husband and wife team with this fella.
Working with my wife has been a lot of fun. The ultimate goal for everybody here is to make this work. And because we have different strengths, we bring different angles to the deal.
The process begins with our powerhouse website, WeSellRestaurants.com, where buyers sign online confidentiality agreements and browse restaurants for sale.
Then we send buyers undercover to check out a restaurant and decide if it's the right one for them.
Buyers get our proprietary business analysis tool with all the financial details on the business for sale.
After studying the restaurant inside and out, it's back to our office.
We are deal makers. We write contracts and negotiate terms for buyers and sellers. That's why we sell more restaurants than any other firm in the nation. We are the restaurant brokers. Our name says it all. I'm Robin Gagnon.
And I'm Eric Gagnon, and we sell restaurants. We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm, We Sell Restaurants, over a decade ago. You can find us online at WeSellRestaurants.com.
That's not all. We're also on your radio once a week with the leading authorities in the restaurant industry talking about subjects trending in this great business. Tweet your own questions on the topic while we're on the air to our Twitter handle. It's @SellRestaurants. Post on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. If we don't get to your questions, we will definitely follow up on our social media channels.
Our goal is to satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. If you have any ideas, any comments, or some feedback about the show, we'd love to hear from you. You can email me. My email is Eric, E-R-I-C, @WeSellRestaurants.com.
We have a special treat today because we are talking with Food Network star Robert Irvine. You know him as the host of Restaurant Impossible. There aren't many places where Robert hasn't cooked or challenges where he hasn't had to cook his way out of. He was in the actual Royal Navy, and Robert expanded his culinary skills working in hotels, casinos, and aboard cruise ships. Every assignment gave him an opportunity to learn more about marrying ingredients and the art of food preparation. Over time, he grew from being the mentee to being the mentor. He earned the privilege of being the executive chef for many great establishments, and there's some trivia for you. He was on the MS Crystal Harmony and Trump's Taj Mahal. With every adventure, he made an effort to get to know the people he worked with. His relationships helped open many doors to some of the most unforgettable moments in his life, according to him, being the head chef for the 2006 Academy Awards, serving as a consultant for the U.S. Navy, including his start in television. That's where you know him from. And it all started with a TV show very few of you may have heard of. It's called Fit for a King. That's right, Fit for a King was a pitch to Food Network that after a very few changes became known as Dinner Impossible. Dinner Impossible filmed more than 100 episodes, and every week he presented a new and different challenge. The locations range from a deserted island to a hotel made of ice, and Robert found himself preparing dinner for groups of thousands, from construction workers, athletes, weddings, Marines, and even a governor's inauguration dinner. He enjoyed the rush of Dinner Impossible challenges where he had to act fast, be creative, and adapt. He never knew what to expect, and the situation was constantly changing, an environment that Robert would become even more familiar with on Restaurant Impossible. Eric, do you remember that first show?
I sure did. And, let me tell you some more about Robert. I mean, he's an amazing person in the food service industry. And Robert has a passion for cooking. I mean, he believes enjoying a good meal brings people together. However, being able to help people is what drives him. From helping families survive the stress of a failing restaurant on Restaurant Impossible to honoring the service members of the service to that people that service to our country, Robert believes one of the greatest things he can do with success is to give back to those in need of a little guidance or those who have made sacrifice to us to enjoy our freedom. Very noble cause. Most people recognize Restaurant Impossible as a 36-hour, $10,000 challenge to save a restaurant from impending failure. Since 2011, the show has filmed 7 seasons, just over 80 episodes. That's unbelievable. And has a success rate of over 80%. What many people don't know is that 6 months after filming, the crew follows up with the restaurant, and many of the restaurants, they stay in touch even longer, according to Robert. He doesn't pick the restaurant, and he doesn't know anything about the restaurant or its challenges until he shows up. What he typically learns in the first meeting with the owner is that the restaurant is struggling on a deeper level. There's tension between family members and staff that is pushing the restaurant to the brink of failure. This is a problem that a fancy facelift and a brand new menu won't help. He considers an episode successful if by the end of the shoot he can bring the family or the staff together. Robert's ultimate goal is to help guide them in resolving their personal challenges that are keeping the restaurant from succeeding.
Wow, what a great show. And another passion, you may notice this, for Robert is fitness. He was once named one of the 25 fittest guys in America by Men's Fitness magazine. For him, fitness and proper nutrition go hand in hand for living a healthy lifestyle. Something you don't often see, Eric, with the Food Network chefs. Despite spending more than 340 days on the road, he makes fitness a priority, and many times that means waking up at 6 a.m. to hit the gym before a shoot, or even squeezing in a 20-minute workout in a hotel room. Although fitness has always been a passion, his dad, this is a little more trivia about Robert Irvine, was a former professional soccer player, and in the British Royal Navy, Robert completed the field gun competition. It wasn't until recently that he started to find ways to even share that passion with others. He has a newly launched Fit Crunch baked protein bar, and in early 2014, he is co-authoring a fitness and nutrition book. These are just the first steps in what he hopes will become another great adventure in his life.
His goal is simple. He wants to empower people through food and fitness to thrive each day. He believes a little bit of fitness and a healthy meal is the foundation for taking on any challenge that may come up in a day. He wants to help as many people as possible achieve their goals. Whether it's a family running a restaurant that needs a few tips to make a smarter business decision, or a wounded Marine recovering from a roadside IED that can use a few words of encouragement and a good meal, or a single mom trying to stay fit and make healthy choices for herself and her children. He believes that he can help. Not every challenge can be solved in 36 hours and with $10,000. But those are the challenges that he looks forward to solving the most.
Robert Irvine, Restaurant Impossible. Thank you for joining us on the show. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon. We sell restaurants.
You're welcome. How are you?
Oh, we're doing great, sir.
Robert, we're glad to have you, and let's go right into it. I want to ask you a question. As the host of Restaurant Impossible, you help owners, reinvent themselves and get back on track. What are some of the most common mistakes you've seen through the episodes that the restaurant owner make over and over again?
Well, I think the biggest mistake is they have no clue about getting into the restaurant business, and they undercapitalize that business. And there is no leadership when they get into that business. So therefore, no direction, no clear direction for the staff, and there's no money to do what they originally wanted to.
Right. We are restaurant brokers, and we see that as well, because so many folks get in because they have a passion for cooking, and they forget about the business side of the equation.
Correct. It's different to get a restaurant, a lease or whatever, and we feel happy, but then it's the restaurant running. Then it's the staffing, the food, all the things that go part to be a part of that restaurant.
Absolutely.
That they forget about.
Yeah, and do you see a lot of people, go to culinary school, get trained and everything, and a lot of them are very, very good at, creating dishes and everything, but then the business part of it kind of falls to the wayside, and they refuse to team up or bring people in that are going to help on their weaknesses. Do you see that often?
Yeah, absolutely. But they're always embarrassed, too. Everybody's embarrassed about showing what they don't know instead of being smart and asking people for help at the beginning or learning. One of the problems with and you hit the nail on the head right there, was there are some great chefs who create great dishes, but they're not good business people. They didn't take care of it when they were in school, or they didn't get taught in another restaurant, and they think they can run it because they used to do an inventory or something, or schedule people. You can't do that.
Right. It's somewhat one-dimensional. So let me ask you this, Robert. What do you see as the keys to success in the restaurant industry?
Well, I think, I always say this when people ask me, should I buy a restaurant? If you've worked for a company from a minimum of 2 years in every possible capacity, from busboy through the chef, scheduling and everything else. That's the minimum I would say. Work 2 years for somebody else, get to know the business. Then you need 6 months of your estimated revenue in the bank and 6 months of your estimated costs, money in the bank, because things go wrong. And the last thing I would say is you have to have a fund in case when you do take over that lease, that equipment breaks immediately, which it happens. For whatever reason, it all works when you get there, and all of a sudden, a week later, it doesn't.
Right.
And you have no money to fix it.
We've seen that happen. You're exactly right about that.
So we often tell our clients as well that it's not just themselves that go into the business. This is a lifestyle business. It requires a commitment of the entire family because it does affect the entire family unit. Where do you weigh in on this?
Well, the family, unless they're strong, they don't last. The restaurant business is the highest failure of marriages due to the hours, the stress, the late nights. It's a tough business to be in, and it's very tough on families. So, that's a huge thing to think about when you get into this business and how that business is structured. Is it 50-50 business with your wife? Is it, how is that done? Because believe me, we don't think about it. It's like a prenup. We don't think about it, but unless we do, when it comes down the road and something happens, you're not prepared for that. And again, I'm not a pessimist. I'm just telling you the actual facts. Marriages fail with restaurants.
Now, I want to come back to what you just said a minute ago about people, go work for a couple of years. As restaurant workers, a lot of people come to us with either a lot of money or a dream or both, and we tell them that maybe you want to go work with somebody. We can maybe help you make some introduction and start. And you look at us, why would I want to do that? Do you get the same kind of puzzle? Why would I want to do that? I'm ready to go.
Yeah, because they know everything already. Or they think they do. And it's funny when I hear that. Oh, yeah, I used to cook for my mom and my dad, and my mom says, or a wife says that her husband says she's a good cook, or they're good with people, so let's open a restaurant.
Right.
I hear that all the time. Yeah, if you've got money and you want money to throw away, think about this. What other business on the planet with a revenue generation of $1.5 million a year will give you back minimum, I should say, $150,000 to $200,000 a year net?
Right.
There is none. It's a passion. You're not going to get rich with restaurants unless you own 30 or 40 of these restaurants and exit them.
Right. We often tell people to do that analysis and go through the numbers, and what they will figure out is they're working for minimum wage. So, you've really got to believe that what you're doing is kind of special. Otherwise, you will absolutely burn up your passion, burn up your marriage potentially, as you said, and also burn up your resources. I want to switch gears a little bit then talk a little bit about technology, because that's obviously a buzzword today. So how are you seeing that come into play with today's restaurant world and the adaptation that's taken place?
Well, technology, if you think about restaurants, a fried egg has always been a fried egg, a piece of chicken is always chicken, no matter whether it be in the 60s or here in the 20th century. Technology is a huge, huge buzzword because it's changing our industry. There are inventory control systems, point-of-sale systems, instant feedback systems, scheduling, Red Book Connect, the home system. I mean, all these things that we need, believe it or not, to run our business in this modern day and age. People say, well, I've been running my business for 60 years the same way. Yeah, and that's why you're losing $500,000 a year.
Right.
Because you're not efficient in what you do, and you're wasting money. There's technology out there for from the minute you walk in the door with, them clunky pages that have lights all over them, look like they came out of a UFO, to, when you sit down, we give you a page and we'll tell you when your table's ready. Well, there's so many things. I was just talking about this yesterday. A guy that lost $238,000 in inventory staked could have been avoided, and he would still be in business now if he had an inventory control system.
Wow.
So technology is huge. And you don't even have to own it now. You can go on. Red Book Connect is a prime example. You can change all your schedules. There's 40 million people changing schedules in restaurants all over the country as we're on this phone right now. and you don't need to own that. You just have to be part of that company.
Right, and embrace
which
the
is
technology.
a minimal fee.
Right.
Instant feedback from systems. 5 questions tells you what your people are doing in your business. Again, nominal fees. It's worth it, but by the time you save the money in efficiencies and feedback than not doing it.
Right.
I think you're so right about, people have to evolve and move on. Even if you do things the same way for 60 years, I know I don't do things the same way we were doing 10 years ago. So it's so important. And speaking of that, I know on your show, Restaurant Impossible, you fix about everybody. We very hardly see any failure. But now, I know once in a while you do see one. But have you been even, didn't make it to on the air where you have gone to a restaurant and says, this is not going to be, I can't save this?
There's no such thing as I can't save it. And I truly believe that. I think anything is possible. We've done 132 episodes of Restaurant Impossible. We've saved 87% of those, and that number changes weekly, obviously, because I'm not there every minute and every day to guide them, although I do keep in contact with them. But that's a great success rate based on, these people would have been 130 restaurants would have been out of business if I hadn't gone there. So I don't think there's any such thing as we can't save anybody. They just have to be open to change and listen. And that's hard for people. Very hard.
I agree with you. I think that's probably the toughest part of the business, the whole axiom that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's very tough. So as you're packing up those cameras and leaving, it's really been an emotional few days. You've come in and really made massive improvements in their business. What parting advice do you give to them now that they are in possession of this revamped menu, a redesigned space, really the best in the business level of effort and creativity from your team? What do you say to them when you walk away?
Do exactly what I've told you. You've got pictures, you've got plating cards, you've got inventory control based on this menu. Use the menu, get used to it, add slowly. Don't get a menu that's 15 pages long, and keep your inventory low and keep your finger on the staff. No different to when I'm there. I drill it home. I have 36 hours of tough love, and it is tough because I don't make any apologies for that. I'm trying to save your business. And it works. We know it works because of the success rate. So that's what I say. Now it will make me proud to be successful.
As we talk to you right now, there's listeners on our show that are probably facing, should I shut down my restaurant? I've got, $5,000-$10,000 left in the bank account to do something with it. Don't know what I'm doing. Every consultant's come out here, want a lot of money. What would be the main 2 things that tell these guys right now, to really take a close look at it that will make them survivable?
Close look at your rent. If your rent is out costing you, or if your rent is, and I'm going to pick a silly number, 2/3 or a half of what you make in a month, get out of it. It's too much. They say this. The rent should be the less rent, obviously, but the lower the rent, it shouldn't be a quarter of what your turnover is in revenue, because you can't keep your head above water if you're paying that much money in rent. Then there's utilities, then there's labor and taxes. You'll never make it if your rent is so high. I mean, I closed down a restaurant because my rent went from $6,000 to $17,000.
Wow.
So there are greedy landlords out there that think about themselves instead of the small business.
Exactly.
They've got enough money, but, that's landlords, unfortunately. And it's their right to do so, but I just think it's not very cool when you're the guy that's struggling, he's struggling, to cut him a break and help him out.
Right. And I think folks over space as well, because it's always easier to go into a smaller space with a smaller fixed cost, build that base of business, and then blow up the space to something larger and start paying the landlord more. But you're exactly right. You will be held hostage by that landlord if that fixed cost is too large a percent of your total gross revenue.
Oh, yeah.
And we see you driving around and looking outwards. I mean, people get emotionally attached. We, as a restaurant worker, we do a lot of space, and we advise people, but I got to be in that shopping center or I will never make it. And I don't believe 100% is true. Location is important, but I see you drive around town, you look, what are my competitors? What's going on around town? Where's the shift? Where is everything? And do you agree that people should be looking also, because it's very easy when you open your restaurant to stick stuck in the kitchen and the dining room and never get out of your restaurant, and the world's passing you by. How important is this for people to, on a monthly, weekly basis? What's your advice for them to look outwards in the town? What's going on?
Well, I think you have to look at the changes. I think the number is 2,000 restaurants open a week and 1,000 close a week around the country. We get an opportunity to pick one out of 2,000 restaurants to do a week. So it tells you how our business is hurting. You've got to get out, you've got to try what's around you, you've got to understand what your competition is, and you've got to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. The menu has to be great, the place has to be clean, the staff have to know their job and do it well and be consistent. And again, all that comes from leadership. We also talk about that technology. If you have technology, it's great, but you also have to have something that doesn't crash. You have to make sure that you have a company that can help you come in, look at what you do and where you want to be, and give you the service that you want. They can only guide you at the end of the day. And we don't like to be guided. We're a nation of, instant gratification people, and we know everything. So when somebody comes in and tells you something, automatically you feel that, he wants to sell me this because he thinks I got money. No, listen to the people. In some cases, that is the case. But you've got to get a trusted supplier who can help you.
Right, and we often tell people, get outside your doors, get to trade shows, mingle with other folks, take on mentors across the country and across the state, and get more opinions about your business. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%.
So let me ask you this: if restaurant owners out there and they're saying, I never going to get this great chef to come to my operation and turn it around for me, what are the things they can do to sort of look at their business with that critical eye and start looking at a shift for changes?
Well, I think I just said that. I mean, you've got to look at the way your place looks. Does it smell when you walk in the door? Are the bathrooms kept up to date? Is the food as good as it should be? Are you buying good product? One of the biggest mistakes people make when they start to fail or see loss of money is they cut back on the quality of the product. Mistake number one. If you're going to go out big.
Right.
You've got, at least you have a chance. Well, you have a chance if you continue with your quality of food to stay alive. And if you don't, that just puts the nails in your coffin. You've got to make sure it's respectable and people want to keep coming in there. You've got to get out and market the place.
Do you think?
Don't wait for it to come to you.
Wow, some great inside information from Robert Irvine. So excited to be talking with the host of Restaurant Impossible today. Eric, what are your thoughts?
This is unbelievable. I mean, he's with you right here, right now, and this really straight from his heart. And I can't wait to hear some of the more information that's coming up from him in the second segment of our show. Our
third segment's called Restaurant Reality, and it struck me as we listened to Robert answer our questions. He is a tough love guy. He does not pull any punches, that this business can absolutely be tough, and you got to get in there and do the things that are going to make you successful in the business.
Absolutely. I mean, he's looking at this from a perspective that, you got to be hard on yourself, you got to be realistic with yourself, and you got to do your homework, and you got to start from the bottom and work your way up. That's very good. That, and when you get into those tricky situations with family members that, sometimes you really have to have those really strong conversations to bring everybody together on one team and go after what it's going to take to make the business successful. That sounds good. So let's see what he has to say after the break. Okay, just hang on there because we are interviewing Robert Irvine, Food Network star and host of Restaurant Impossible. He's sharing great information with us. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon, the restaurant brokers. As we satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. Stay tuned. More from Robert Irvine from the Food Network right after this quick timeout.